Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Garrett Smith of nutritionrestored.com, and in today's presentation I'm going to be going over cod liver oil, also known as CLO. Some people use fermented cod liver oil or FCLO. Basically they're close enough to be the same thing, and I'm going to be going over the very real scientific evidence in the literature that's not so good and that it's probably not so good for you, and there are years of this research on it. So let's just jump right in. First, you must decide, are you married, like stuck with theories and stories that may or may not be true? Or are you actually interested in results and outcomes? I know I'm interested in results and outcomes. Other people, especially people who sell things, are interested in theories and stories. I'm not. Next, don't kill the messenger, me, if you're upset by this, that nobody ever told you this. You should be mad at the people who didn't share this information with you before they told you to take this stuff. Next time you might want to do some more due diligence and research it before you take it, and not just think that because it's natural, it's good. So, before I jump into this, who am I? Anyway, I'm Dr. Garrett Smith. I am a licensed naturopathic physician in Arizona. My places you can get in touch with me, nutritionrestored.com, and then there's my Facebook page. I do a lot of posting of literature stuff on my Facebook notes. Feel free to friend me on there. I specialize in clinical nutrition. Clinical nutrition is the treatment of chronic disease with nutrition. Nutrition is what I do. It is what I specialize in because I think it is the foundation of the pyramid of health. You are what you eat, right? So if you eat crap, you are crap. So if you put things in your body that affect you negatively, then you're going to have negative health, bad health, right? My primary tools are hair mineral analysis and some blood work to look at iron dysregulation. But the hair analysis is kind of what I specialize in. It's what I've made my reputation on, and it works. So here's what I do. I combine old research, which is awesome usually, and some of the new research. I find new research whenever I can, historical or traditional evidence. I put it into a modern context because the world today is not the world 2,000 years ago. And most importantly, the only thing I'm interested in, the driving force, is actual client results. These are what guide my approach. I combine these things. And my driving philosophy that I got from Dr. James Sensenig in Naturopathic Medical School, which is give the body what it needs, help it get rid of what it doesn't want, and then we all get the heck out of the way and watch the body fix itself. That is what I do. And giving the body proper nutrition allows it to do all this stuff. First, I want to go over the appeal to nature fallacy. There's a link there if you want to check it out, but the fallacy is basically that because something is natural, it's valid, justified, inevitable, good, or ideal. Many natural things are considered good, and most of the time, if it's natural, you can probably be pretty sure it's better than things that we're creating in labs, okay? But just because it's natural or closer to natural doesn't mean it's good or bad. As they say here, murder, this is a quote from that logical fallacy website, murder could be seen as very natural. The cycle of life, right? The circle of life, but that doesn't mean it's good or justifiable. Don't get stuck in the appeal to nature fallacy. That's what cod liver oil has been stuck in by a lot of people because they assumed that because it was natural and there's supposedly this natural balance of vitamin A and vitamin D in it, that it's somehow perfectly made and it can't hurt you. You know what the balance of A and D in cod liver oil is perfectly made for? It's only perfect for one species, cod, okay? Why not another animal? Okay, there's nothing magical about cod liver oil. Next, people are probably going to come after me for this, the CLO apologists, and they're going to try to find every reason to say that their cod liver oil or the stuff they've been recommending isn't like what I'm saying here. These studies that I'm talking about here are on cod liver oil. If you want to dismiss them, you can dismiss them at your own risk. If you start seeing your own health history in what I'm about to talk about, you might want to get in touch with me because I'm the one telling you that these problems are possibly caused by this in yourself or even in your kids. We'll get into kids real quick here. So first, cod liver oil and allergies or immune system issues. These are mostly in children. We have 5 papers to go over. The first one is going to be really important. So we have the introduction. This is a theoretical paper, and the introduction of the oral vitamin D supplementation and the rise of the allergy pandemic. Pandemic means worldwide. This is the history here. I'm just going to read the bolded part. English cities in 1880 were characterized by an extremely high rickets prevalence, so lots of rickets. The beginning of commercial cod liver oil production. If you don't know, cod liver oil is produced commercially today. That's how you get it. And the near absence of any allergic diseases. Do we have a lot of allergic diseases today? Yes. Before there was cod liver oil, near absence. By 1930, hay fever prevalence, or seasonal allergies as they call them, had risen to about 3% in English-speaking countries, where cod liver oil was preferentially used for the treatment of rickets. We're talking about cod liver oil, but I want to go into this next part too. In 1980, vitamin D was used nationwide in England, in all industrialized countries, as a supplement to industrial baby food, thus eradicating nearly all cases of rickets. Okay, so rickets is gone. At the same time, the allergy prevalence reached an all-time high, affecting about 30% of the population. Is that a coincidence? Correlation? Becoming causation, maybe? I don't know. We'll have to see in these studies. Because when you start hearing people trying to say it's vitamin A in the cod liver oil that was the problem, well, we're going to have fingers pointing in the other direction. So, title of the study, Infant Vitamin D Supplementation and Allergic Conditions in Adulthood. Northern Finland Birth Cohort 1966. I'm just going to read the bolded parts. Our objective was to investigate whether vitamin D supplementation in infancy is associated with the risk of atopy. I might be saying that wrong. A heightened immune response to common allergens. Do we have that today? Yeah, I added that definition. Allergic rhinitis, that's hay fever or seasonal allergies, and asthma. The prevalence of atopy and allergic rhinitis, sorry, I can't see my thing here with my little, at age 31 years or higher in participants who had received vitamin D supplementation regularly during the first year compared to others, 1.46 odds ratio. That means people who took vitamin D supplements during their first year were 1.46 times more likely to have atopy or allergic rhinitis. Okay, 1.5 times. A similar association was observed for asthma, 1.35. These associations persisted after adjustment for a wide range of behavioral and social factors. We observed an association between vitamin D supplementation in infancy and an increased risk of atopy and allergic rhinitis later in life. Okay, I want you to pay attention here because this is going to be important. Vitamin D problems, if they happen, don't just go away because you stop taking it. Okay, we're looking at vitamin D supplementation regularly during the first year. Okay, when they were 0 to 1, and they're checking to see if they're still having heightened immune response to common allergens, atopy, and allergic rhinitis, seasonal allergies at age 31. 30 years later, folks, this can be fixed, but it doesn't go away by itself. So I kept that in there because that's the vitamin D thing that we're going into. The primary thing that cod liver oil gives you is vitamin D. Vitamin D by mouth is very different than vitamin D you make from the sun. Don't ever get me wrong on this. I'm not against vitamin D in the body, made by the body. I'm not a big fan of taking it from outside unless we have very, very good reason to. And most people, based on the labs, don't have a good reason to take it. We'll get into that in a future video. Next, Effects of early intake of fruit or vegetables in relation to later asthma and allergic sensitization in school-age children. You might look at this and go, well, where's cod liver oil? In the conclusion, they did look at cod liver oil in this, whereas allergic sensitization at school age is what we call first grade, which is like when they're what? How old are they in first grade nowadays? 6? Seemed to increase with extra vitamin and cod liver oil supplements during infancy. Again, years later, school age versus infant, okay? This problem doesn't just go away. Next, the role of latitude, ultraviolet radiation exposure, and vitamin D in childhood asthma and hay fever, an Australian multi-center study. So now we're down in Oz. Oral supplementation with cod liver oil in childhood increased the odds of a history of having both asthma and hay fever. Okay, 2.87. Somebody who took cod liver oil in childhood had a 2.87 times greater chance of getting asthma and or hay fever. That's 3 times almost. That's a lot. Next study, does vitamin D intake during infancy promote the development of atopic allergy? Recently, vitamin D has been proposed as one of several environmental factors responsible for the increase in atopic diseases during the last decades. I'm going to skip to the end bolded part. Atopic manifestations were more prevalent in the group with higher intake of vitamin D3. Although small, this study supports previous investigations suggesting a role of vitamin D intake during infancy in the development of atopic allergy later in childhood, years later. Okay, you see a pattern here? I'm not finding one study. Okay, so now we go to cod liver oil and asthma in adults. So first, if you have children who are having really bad allergy problems, or asthma, or seasonal allergies, or hay fever, or whatever you want to call it, we can fix this. If you gave them cod liver oil or vitamin D, or if the mother took cod liver oil or vitamin D during pregnancy, yes, that transfers the problems. We can fix that. Now we go into adults. So we have 2 papers. Relationship of fish and cod oil intake with adult asthma. Funny that they're trying to say those 2 things are the same, because eating fish and cod oil intake are quite different. It's funny how they try to lead this study here. A diet rich in fish or cod oil might possibly reduce the risk for asthma and atopic diseases. However, previous studies show conflicting results. Maybe that's because those things aren't the same at all? Maybe, but anyway. The objective to investigate whether childhood and adult fish and cod oil intake was related to adult asthma. Their results. Adult consumption of cod oil had a U-shaped association with asthma, with the highest risks in those taking cod oil never and daily. That's a big U. But anyway, taking it daily had the highest risk with asthma. Okay, next one. Cod liver oil intake and an incidence of asthma in Norwegian adults, the Hunt study. Cod liver oil intake was significantly associated with incident asthma, odds ratio of 1.62, so 1.6 times more probable. After they adjusted for age, sex, smoking, physical activity, education, socioeconomic status, family history of asthma, and body mass index. The positive association was consistent across age. So whether they were less than 40 or greater than 40, didn't matter the age, sex, so both men and women, family history of asthma, and BMI subgroups. So whether they had a high BMI or a low BMI. Their conclusion, intake of cod liver oil was significantly associated with increased incidence of adult onset asthma. Yes, I struck through the high vitamin A content because, as you can see in those previous studies, it's not the vitamin A, folks. They were looking for a scapegoat here. They just couldn't bring themselves to blame the vitamin D. I fix problems all day long with vitamin A. I fix the problems of too much vitamin D by using vitamin A. And if you decide to go out and start experimenting with vitamin A by yourself without a hair test and without some guidance, hey, I wish you the best of luck. I hope you don't mess yourself up because you're playing with calcium here. Calcium is a rough thing to play with. Cod liver oil and bone mineral density in adults, right? Everybody says you need to take your vitamin D to build your bones. I wonder what this is going to say. Childhood cod liver oil consumption and bone mineral density in a population-based cohort of peri- and postmenopausal women, the Nord-Trondhelag Health Study. It is not known whether childhood cod liver oil intake is related to variations in bone mineral density or fractures in adult life. Skip forward. Women reporting no childhood cod liver oil intake had statistically significantly higher BMD, bone mineral density. They had stronger bones, denser bones, than those with any ingestion of cod liver oil. So any ingestion of cod liver oil, they're suggesting, led to lower bone density as adults. The very bottom thing, there were indications of a negative dose response effect of childhood cod liver oil intake on bone. Okay, so maybe that theory is not so good. Cod liver oil, heart disease, and arthritis in adults. So cod liver oil supplements consumption and health, cross-sectional results from the EPIC Norfolk cohort study. I got to pay attention to this one. Participants who had prevalent, I believe they mean previous here, but prevalent, I didn't look it up in this context, prevalent heart attack or stroke were less likely to report CLO supplements. So they took less or didn't take cod liver oil supplements if they'd had a heart attack or stroke. Do you see the association there? Less likely to report CLO supplements, didn't or had a heart attack and stroke, less likely to report CLO supplements. Arthritis was associated with increased CLO use. Let me tell you what vitamin D does. It tends to deposit calcium. When you eat vitamin D, I just call it eating vitamin D. When you eat vitamin D, it deposits calcium. When you have calcium deposits in your arteries, your blood vessels, your heart, that causes heart disease, strokes, heart attacks. When you have calcium in your joints, that's called arthritis. I'm telling you that vitamin D, which is the main active ingredient of cod liver oil, causes you to accumulate too much calcium over time. Funny thing that this study is saying the same thing. Next, this is an interesting thing. We're all through the studies on cod liver oil in terms of vitamin D stuff, but this is persistent organic pollutants, also known as POPs, in cod liver oil. So first, let's go over what they are. They are organic chemical substances. That is, they are carbon-based. That doesn't mean they're organic like Whole Foods organic, okay? They possess a particular combination of physical and chemical properties such that once released into the environment, these are the important things. They remain intact for an exceptionally long period of time. They're not broken down. They're not biodegradable very well, okay? They become widely distributed through the environment, but then we get into they accumulate in the fatty tissue of living organisms. Where do we get cod liver oil from? Cod liver oil, right? Fat out of the liver. Does the liver process stuff? Maybe toxic stuff? Including humans, and are found at higher concentrations in higher levels in the food chain. Sorry, I got my ats and ins mixed up there. And they are toxic to both humans and wildlife. It's killing the cod. It's slowly killing you too. So let's go into our POPs in cod liver oil. Steroidogenic differential effects in neonatal porcine Leydig cells. These are cells from the testicles, exposed to persistent organic pollutants, POPs, derived from cod liver oil. Let's get this important part at the start here. Seafood products, including fish and fish oils. So yes, your fish oil. Yes, your cod liver oil. Yes, your wild salmon are major sources of persistent organic pollutants, POPs, which may cause endocrine hormone disruption related to reproductive dysfunction in males. We don't hear anything about fertility problems these days, right? There's not whole clinics and a whole medical industry devoted to this. Primary porcine pig neonatal Leydig cells were exposed to 3 extracts of POPs obtained from different stages in production of cod liver oil dietary supplement in the absence and presence of luteinizing hormone. luteinizing hormone comes from your pituitary to stimulate the gonads to produce more hormones, okay? It decreased, these POPs, decreased testosterone and estrogen, estradiol, secretion in LH-stimulated cells. Well, we are a body. We stimulate with LH. So we would be looking at the LH-stimulated cells. So the production went down. A decrease in central steroidogenic genes, including STAR, CYP11A1, HSD3B, and CYP17A1, were obtained in both culture conditions with all POP extracts. The POPs were affecting your hormonal genes. Okay, this is not going to be on your 23andMe. These things are affecting your genes. You're related to hormones, okay? They are in cod liver oil. Here's the study. Of course they would be. They're in the fat. Oh, from the Environmental Working Group, more on persistent organic pollutants. Most POPs, including DDT, remember that one? Remember how they stayed in the environment a very, very long time? Disrupt the normal function of the, I added this human, endocrine hormone system in the mother and the fetus. Here's they kind of accumulated some of the research. Many scientists strongly suspect a link between fetal and neonatal exposure. So fetal is in the womb. Neonatal is just born. Two POPs and the increase in a number of diseases, including testicular cancer, hypospadias, which is where the urethra comes out on the bottom side of the penis, endometriosis, and breast cancer. Other phenomena, such as the dramatic drop in sperm count reported in many industrialized countries and the significantly younger age at which children now reach puberty, are also linked to POPs exposure in the scientific literature. Do you think cod liver oil would be a good idea for pregnant and nursing mothers to take? Probably not. This is a quote. I don't remember where I found this, but I thought it was a really important quote that I wanted to keep. So I saved it in a Facebook note. This is attributed to Weston A. Price. Like I'm saying, the way I saw it was attributed to him. Whether or not he said it, it makes sense. It doesn't matter who said it. It makes sense. So let me go into this. Mothers. I have frequently had mothers bring this question to me as a serious nutritional problem with their children. They had desired to do all they possibly could for their children and, in their efforts, had tried to follow the directions on the bottle or as otherwise provided, which often meant large doses of cod liver oil. Here's the important part. They have reported to me the difficulty they had in combating the rebellion of their children against the use of cod liver oil, which may have been in part a reaction of self-preservation. Many of the children were reported to regurgitate the oil when it was forced down. Since it has been demonstrated that only the oil that is utilized contributes to the well-being of the human being or animal, it can readily be anticipated that compulsion to take such a toxic product could be very injurious. Let me simplify that for you. If you don't feel good when you take something, this is what I do with my own patients, clients. If you don't feel good when you take something, or you have a bad feeling about it, you shouldn't take that. These children don't, it's like when they do studies on animals, you don't really get placebo effect with animals because they don't know what you're giving them. Children are kind of the same way, They don't have a lot of ideas about supplements and vitamin D and vitamin A and all this stuff. All they know is they don't want to take that stuff. So whether Weston Price said this or not, it doesn't really matter. These kids are saying, their bodies are saying, fight against taking this. Oh, you got it down? I might throw it back up to get it out of me. It's that bad, okay? Moms who have tried to give their kids cod liver oil know of this problem, okay? So, I've already pretty much said that bottom part, so we're just going to move on. Are there any other problems with Cielo? Have I not said enough? Probably there are other problems. I didn't cover the PUFA issue. I didn't cover the rancidity or oxidation issue around fermented cod liver oil. As I say here, you'll just have to taste that deliciousness. yourself. And yes, that is a whole heaping load of sarcasm on that. And finally, based on the work I do with patients and what I've seen others say on the internet, I absolutely do not believe that the vitamin A in cod liver oil in any way balances out the vitamin D content. No way. Doesn't happen. This assumption, hopefully you know why I capitalized ass in assume, it does not hold true on hair mineral analysis. I could show you this over and over and over and over in kids and adults. It doesn't matter the type or the brand or whether it's fermented or not, or molecular distillation, if they do it, might actually get rid of some of those persistent organic pollutants. But then it usually also gets rid of a lot of the vitamin A and the vitamin D. So then why are you taking it? Like I said, there's no magic to cod in terms of being good for humans. I mean, why not do frog liver for all that matters, you know? So yeah, there's probably other problems with it. I just went over the vitamin D problem for the most part and the persistent organic pollutants. So let's move on now. Now you've read this and you go, oh my gosh, how can I fix this problem? So I'm not trying to be a fearmonger here. I'm just presenting the research, right? I fix these problems all the time. If you go, I'm working on having it on my website, but if you go on my Facebook notes, you can read all the testimonials. You can read testimonials of people saying they weren't even on my program yet. I got them off their vitamin D supplement or off their cod liver oil. They were already feeling better. So, first, especially you moms, okay? You must forgive yourself. If you can see some of these problems in your children, and I'm showing you this research, and you're saying, oh my God, I hurt my child, okay? You have to forgive yourself. You cannot just walk around with this for the rest of your life, because I like I'm saying, I fix this problem all the time. The problem doesn't fix itself. You saw that first study, it was like, what, age 1 taking cod liver oil, and they still had problems at age 31? We can fix this. I fix it all the time. But what is done is done. You can't go back. You can't take it all back. But you should do more due diligence in the future, okay? In terms of not just trusting what somebody says that it's good for you. You need to look into it more. When people are on my program, they send me questions. Hey, what do you think about this? And I'll say, that's great, or it's total fraud. If there's research on it, I'll look it up. So what we fix, what the vitamin D by mouth causes problems with, is especially calcium. Causes problems with potassium too. But by fixing calcium and the other minerals, we can correct the nutritional cause of these problems. There is a cause, which means we can fix it. We can remove the cause and fix the damage that was done and fix the imbalances that were created and bring things back to normal. The body can fix itself. We have to give it what it needs. Next, I've said this over and over and over. The problems don't just go away just because you stop taking it. Years, age 1 to age 31, that first study, they don't just go away. Your body gets into a state of homeostasis with this high calcium problem from the vitamin D, and it's stuck there. The body is always in a state of homeostasis, balance. If you're not in a state of homeostasis, you're dead. That's the only time you're not in homeostasis anymore. So if you are alive, you're in a state of homeostasis. Now, the state of homeostasis that a person's in may feel like hot garbage, okay? You're still alive. You're still in some state of balance. What we do on my program is we bring you back to the state of balance that feels better based on testing, based on your responses to things, based on what you say you feel good on, and based on what you say you don't feel good on. And then the biggest thing that people always want to skip around is the testing. They want me to just tell them, oh, well, how much vitamin A should I take? And how much magnesium? And how much potassium? And all this stuff. We test. We don't guess. People can play around with guessing. You might get somewhere. You might dig yourself a deeper hole. Okay? calcium, regardless of what other people have said out there about hair testing is the best method for assessing calcium flow over time in the body. Other people who don't use hair testing and who also still recommend cod liver oil don't understand the benefit of hair testing in this. And some people who do hair testing still give cod liver oil or vitamin D, and then their clients wonder why their calcium never comes down, or doesn't come down very far, and why their potassium never comes up. It's the vitamin D, folks. If you're taking vitamin D when you have high calcium on a hair test and like low or non-existent potassium, if you're still taking vitamin D in any form, it's never going to fix itself. You have the cause of the problem coming in your body every day. So, if you want to work with somebody who doesn't do that, that's what I do. So next, future videos. If you are interested in this topic, now that you've heard me talk about it, these are some future videos I'm going to go into. How oral vitamin D, whether it's from supplements or cod liver oil, or even foods like the nightshade plants that contain vitamin D, and even dietary calcium, it causes calcium dysregulation. What does dysregulation mean? It means you get too much calcium in the wrong places, like your heart, like your joints, like your brain, and too little calcium in the right places, like the big one that people talk about is your bones. Okay? That is dysregulation. It's in the wrong places. I found 3 studies today specifically basically showing dysregulation. Hair mineral analysis is the best thing to show this. If you have high calcium on a hair test, you have calcium dysregulation. If you're still taking vitamin D in any form, when you have high calcium, you are making it worse. High calcium on a hair test can be linked to low thyroid function, diabetes, heart disease, arthritis, allergies, asthma, all of these things that we just went over today and more. Next, the nutrients. Note that it's S. I made sure to capitalize and bold and underline that S. The nutrients that completely control your vitamin D metabolism, as in, but I go to my doctor and I'm taking the vitamin D. He's giving me injections. He's giving me 50,000 unit pills now, and they're doing all this crazy stuff with vitamin D, and it's still not coming up. What's going on? My doctor says I need to take even more. He doesn't understand why it's not coming up. Because your problem is not a vitamin D deficiency. Let me go into something real quick about why you don't necessarily need to take vitamin D supplements when you have low vitamin D on a hair test. Okay. We have studies showing that there are various nutrients that affect how well your body can make vitamin D. And then they have these same nutrients. Often they'll give the animals vitamin D with the nutrient, and their vitamin D goes up faster. But if they give them vitamin D and they still have a deficiency in one of those nutrients, their vitamin D doesn't come up. Think about it this way. I'm going to use an example as a guy that I can very easily relate to. Testosterone, right? Everybody's here on the radio. Low testosterone. You need to come in to see the doctor and we'll give you testosterone and we'll fix your life and all that stuff. It doesn't work forever, folks. The good effects that guys feel at the start fade off after a while. But let's talk about this in terms of testosterone. Most people would know that if you have low testosterone as a guy or as a woman, there's a problem somewhere. The low testosterone doesn't mean you have a deficiency of testosterone injections or testosterone cream or any of that stuff. It means that your body has a problem somewhere. Does that make sense? Low testosterone equals a problem somewhere. It is a symptom of a deeper problem. Well, what if I were to tell you that magnesium deficiency will decrease testosterone? Zinc deficiency will decrease testosterone. Selenium deficiency will decrease testosterone. Boron deficiency will decrease testosterone. We're not even getting to the toxic metals. If you got those coming in, those will affect testosterone. If you're getting too many pops from cod liver oil, that might decrease testosterone. So we start looking into what are the things that we know the body needs to make testosterone, and what are the things we want to help it get rid of that inhibit testosterone production. Nobody's doing the same thing for vitamin D. Nobody's saying vitamin D deficiency is, it's vitamin D. You can walk outside in the sun and make it for free. It's the one supplement you shouldn't have to take. It's free. Go outside. And yet, we have a pandemic, worldwide epidemic of vitamin D deficiency. And I'm going to tell you, we have a worldwide epidemic of not enough nutrients in our food. These nutrients are critical to your body making vitamin D. And then also people aren't going outside enough in the sun. But I have people who go outside and they're like, I still don't make vitamin D. I heard about a woman who did an hour of sunbathing in Florida every day. Her vitamin D level was 17, which is too low even for me. She had multiple nutrient deficiencies. Most of you out there have multiple nutrient deficiencies that get in the way of making testosterone and or making vitamin D. Funny thing, vitamin D levels can be correlated to testosterone levels, and a lot of those shared nutrients help with both of them. That's a very strange coincidence. Wow. Shocking. So anyway, we'll be going over basically number 2 here is how to get your body to make vitamin D properly. Number 1 is how vitamin D screws you up. So if you want to get started working with me on this, I do distance consults nationally and internationally via phone and Skype. All we got to be able to do is get the hair sample back to the lab, and then whatever blood work you can do where you are, we get that taken care of. There's my website, nutritionrestored.com, my email to my admin office manager extraordinaire, Julie, and the phone number. We even still have a fax machine, but I didn't put that on there. So this is the end of my presentation. I'm hoping to do those other YouTubes pretty quick here. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. I put all those links in there so you can go and look at it. So when people are saying, well, that research isn't true, that's not right, that doesn't exist, you can go and look it up yourself. I might even put the link to the slideshow in the YouTube description, so you can go and click through on the links to make it even easier on yourself. And so this is Dr. Garrett Smith of nutritionrestored.com signing off. Remember, I am a doctor. I am not your doctor unless you are working with me. So if you decide to take any action on anything in this video, that is not my responsibility. You are an adult. Take responsibility for your own actions. Use all the information out there that you can. And remember, it might just be the little guy screaming out in the woods saying not to do that that's actually the right person, instead of everybody out there trying to shove vitamin D down your throat. Okay? So have a great day. See you on the next video.